Hello and welcome to the Droid and Dragon Cantina, a podcast highlighting independent science fiction and fantasy authors. Our guest this week is Marrie, a mother of three who has authored such books as the Adventures series, the City of the Damned series, and A Court of Blood and Sacrifice. In this episode, we talked about using religion as inspiration and how Kay hones her creative process. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, tell the people about the book that you got out right now.
Okay. So I actually have a total of 6 books.
Okay. Well, take those as however you want to present them to the audience.
I'm going to take you guys through them real quick. So, I had my first series that I wrote. This was I started writing it when I was about 22 and I'm 30 now. Adventures into the Abyss is book 1. And that one is more of a young adult sci-fi adventure book. And it's based off of this really weird, crazy dream that I had. And I thought, let me just write this because this is bizarre and cool. And I wanted to see where I could take it. So I ended up writing a whole book. And that's kind of where I really fell in love with, the art of writing. It is really out there. So it's about this girl who is kind of alone in the world. Her parents died. Her friends kind of went off to college, and she was left the house, and she's just, not really enjoying life. And she lives on the beach, and this crazy being kind of appears out of the ocean and takes her on this crazy adventure and journey to his planet because he needs someone from Earth to help save his dying planet. And from there, all these things just start unraveling, and she starts to realize that she's kind of more connected with this world than she ever would think. But yeah, so that's book 1. Book 2 actually releases next week. I have the cover here, so I'll show you. This is book 2. It's called Adventures into the Jungle.
Nice.
And it starts right off where book 1 ends, and they have to kind of travel back to Earth to find this rare flower to create some kind of toxin that can help save their planet, because their planet's dying from these toxic gases that are releasing into the world, and it's killing everything. But so there's a lot of twists and turns in this series. So this one was my first series that I wrote, and it's just a super fun, fast read. I think adults could enjoy it as well as teenagers. After that, though, I wrote my City of the Damned series, and this one is where I kind of ventured into more of my darker themes, and I really enjoy writing dark stuff, dark fantasy. City of the Damned, this is the paperback version, and then I have a hardback edition as well. So they're both different covers, but paperback, hardback. City of the Damned is a dark dystopian fantasy romance, and I just wrote this and published it, I think, a little over a year ago. I love this book because it's just, I don't know, it just shows how creative I was able to, get this story and push my brain and my mind and creativity. But this book is based off of the world 100 years after the rapture has kind of eradicated most of the humans on Earth. And so now they have been enslaved by demons for the last 100 years. And there's a lot of rules. Love is forbidden. Friendship is forbidden. Their world is very cruel and unkind and dangerous. And you can get sacrificed or tortured for just the simplest of mistakes. And so this book is kind of based off of their secret friendship, and they break out of their city, even though, they risk being eaten alive and sacrificed. They break out of their city to try to find this mysterious artifact, and they don't even know if it's real. But, there's a myth about it. It's called the Lux, and it's supposedly something that's gifted from the angels, and it's hidden among their world. And so they have to go and search for it based off of the myths that they've heard. And during their adventure, it just gets really crazy. They find this secret resistance out in the wastelands. There's a lot of twists and turns that you won't see coming. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, we don't want to give the whole store away. So
yeah, but yeah, it's really good. There's 2 books. It's a complete duology. This is book 2. Book 2 is called Era of the Damned. And they're both available on Amazon, as well as my adventure series. But yeah, they're both of those series are complete duets, so you can already go ahead and read the whole story if you'd like. City of the Damned and Air of the Damned is more of an adult, so there is a little bit of adult content in the series, just so people know. And then I have a new series. It's releasing in June, which I'm very, very excited about. It's a dark fantasy vampire romance. It's called A Court of Blood and Sacrifice. I'm so excited for this one because I really just put everything that I love to read into a book, like into this one. So this one releases June 15th, and I can't wait for people to read it because it's just super fun, super adventurous. It's super dark. It's got a lot of twists and turns because I really like to add those kind of shock factors into my books. So I think the readers are really going to love it.
I'm told that dark fantasy is having a moment right now.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Yeah, I've heard from a couple of authors already that they're saying that, like, yeah, if I really wanted to just go out there and, print money, I'd write something dark fantasy. And, if you're good enough at it, you make a little bank.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny is I write it because it's what I prefer to read. Like I enjoy reading the darker stuff, and that's just kind of where my mind goes when I write. And so it just comes more naturally to me than like writing whimsical or epic fantasy. So yeah, that's kind of just where my comfort zone is.
So it sounds like you got the writing bug kind of young, because if you got your first book out in your early 20s, I suspect you were writing for quite a few years before that.
So my very first
one of these
book,
people that, like, when you just go at something, you just deep dive, you just go right to the deep end of the pool and just do the thing.
I've been writing since I was a child. I actually wrote a book when I was a child called The Neighborhood of the Living, and it was based off of a nightmare that I had. And I entered a contest in my elementary school, and I won first place for that book. But so I've been doing it since I was little. I kind of took a break from writing, and I did art most of my life because I'm an artist also. And then I picked up writing few years ago and just kind of dove right into it, and I'm just fully immersed in it, and it's what I love to do.
So at what point for you did that, like, obviously you got the bug young, so it's probably something you always thought about doing. But I think with some writers, it sounds like there's a point at which they stop looking at it as a hobby and start looking at it as a profession. Mm-hmm. So did that come early on for you, or do you? It sounds like you've made that shift. I've talked to someone who's like, no, I'm still kind of doing this as a hobby, and they've got like 4 books already out, and I'm like, that's interesting that you do it, but like, it seems like you've clearly kind of just gone like you're in professional mode.
Yeah, I take it very seriously. It consumes every second of my brain. I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my God, I need to write this down. I wake up at 4 a.m. every single morning just so I can start writing because I look forward to it. And I think that shift has happened recently where I really wanted to try to make this my career, solely because it's what I love to do. Obviously, I have to work it in my busy life right now because I am just now starting to build up my following and my readers, because that's not something that I knew that I was supposed to do back then when I first started this. So I think it's been about a year now of me being like full force, all in, really trying to take it to a professional level.
So are you, strictly indie, or are you small press? How are you getting it out there?
I am strictly indie right now. I would love to be traditionally published. Funny story though, so for this book here, A Court of Blood and Sacrifice, I actually started querying agents 4 months ago, and I forgot about it, and I've been promoting this book on my TikTok, and it blew up on TikTok, like 40,000 views. Hundreds of people ask me, when are you releasing this? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to self-publish this book because a lot of people are asking for it. So um, not even a day after I announced the release date, I got an agent who was interested in my book. And I had
There
to
you
turn them
go.
down. I did turn them down because I feel like I wanted to have just full control over this one because I loved the cover. I loved the storyline. I didn't want to change anything, and people seem to be really interested. So
I'm curious what that conversation is like, because I'm thinking, because a lot of people, it's that kind of weird double-edged sword with anything. On one hand, you can do what you want, but on the other, you're kind of having to be your own like marketing department and do all this extra stuff that where if you, I guess, went the traditional route, now you've got other people to do all that stuff for you, but now you kind of have to do what they want.
right, it's hard giving up your book and giving up, you know, the idea of what you have, because I love the cover that I have, and I know that if I signed traditionally, they would probably create something completely different for what they want. And there's times where like they might tell you you need to change this scene, or you need to take this chapter out, or you need to do this or do that, and they won't publish it unless you make it to what they want it after you sign that contract. And um, so yeah, so I felt strongly that I can do this on my own. And I know that I feel like I just started, truly just started being indie published probably a year ago. That's when I really started putting my stuff out there. And I think it's going to take time, obviously. It's not going to be an instant thing. So I do believe that like if I keep this up and put my heart and soul into it, 5 or 10 years down the road, I'm going to be where I want to be.
Well, yeah, I know there was I think I don't know if she was a small press author or an indie author, but someone who is actually on TikTok, and I don't want to get the name wrong. Like, just it was a big deal because she just got like a huge, like I think like either a TV or a movie deal for her series of books. You may already know who I'm talking about, but I mean, it's like it was kind of like I kind of got on, like I'm on TikTok, but I'm not like, posting a lot of stuff. I'm usually just kind of following a lot of people, and I was following a lot of the, the book talk people, because I did an audio book for a fantasy author, and she's on there, and I was kind of like following her, and then a lot of the people, she was interviewing people on there. Mm-hmm. And of course, through all that, I found out that there was some indie author who got this huge deal that like, oh, now everyone's looking at it going, oh. And then that's the word now that apparently what I'm hearing is a lot of these studios or streamers are going and looking for material like that they can snatch up. Because, mm-hmm. Like there's always, always looking for the next series or the next set of movies.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's one of those things, like, I guess if you're smart enough about marketing it, you mm-hmm. could go out there, even if you're indie, and still, maybe hit that big paycheck if someone, gets the movie rights, and then, blow up even bigger.
It's possible. It's definitely
possible. So I found it was the thing, one thing that fascinated me, I saw like with your series, the City of the Damned, it's kind of like you took like religion and then applied kind of the sci-fi thing to it. You kind of did like the true post-apocalypse.
Yeah. That one was based off of a dream that I had as well. I get a lot of my ideas from when I'm sleeping. But yeah, so far the readers that have read it, and the people that I've talked to, they said it's such a unique concept, and it's so different from what like the cliche fantasy books are like. And I think that's what makes it stand out, is because it's not like a cliche fantasy book. It is very unique and it's very different, but just so rich with plot, that my readers just said that they literally couldn't put it down, and they were just excited for the next chapter, So
were you like at all religious before that, or was it just something like that they said the idea came to you, and then you kind of, like, I don't know how fully formed that idea popped in your head, but like, did you have to go and then start doing a lot of like research and then start fleshing the thing out?
Oh, I grew up Christian, so I have a base knowledge of it, but the book isn't based around the religion. It's just kind of like that, that just information in the very beginning that gives the reason of why this is happening. But it's more a story of the world then versus like the religion itself, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because there's all this like extra stuff that like if anyone who's ever watched like Supernatural or any of the like almost any TV show where there's like demons or demon hunters, there's all this like extra stuff that you can go look up, and it seems like there's never a shortage of it, or you can just make something. I don't know how much of it is just made up or how much of it is it's out there. It's like it's almost like this whole other genre that if you're kind of not into religious stuff, that you can just be completely unaware of. And then it's really fascinating. Like you go, wow, there's like a whole lot more like witchy, demony stuff out there than I even realized.
Yeah.
And then of course, yeah, nowadays you got like you've had like the Lucifer series, Supernatural. I mean, it seems like that's one of those things that someone always comes back to that area eventually,
Yeah, definitely.
And you've kind of like apparently crafted a world around it.
I did. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed writing this series. It was just so fun for me.
So tell us a little bit about like that process of like the world building in that situation. Cause
okay.
Like how much do you kind of lead into reality, and how much do you just kind of let your brain kind of like, okay, I'm going to really flip some stuff around here and build something new.
I like magical realism, if that's a thing, where it has to make sense to me. So I like to explain like the whys of like why this is, or why do you have this. That way to people when they're reading it, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like I understand why they have magic or why he's evil or whatever. But when I crafted this series, it kind of just flowed into me and through me and onto the page. I'm what they call a pantser writer.
Pantser,
so
yeah.
There's a plotter and then there's a pantser, and I'm definitely a pantser. I don't sit out and outline my books. I don't plan anything. Everything just kind of just comes to me naturally, and I just write whatever my brain thinks of. Sometimes I would have to take a break for a week and wait for the next scene to come into my head. And a lot of times they come to me in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping, and it'll be like, sometimes it's just a single word, but I have such a clear understanding of what I'm supposed to do with that word. And other times it's a whole scene, sometimes a dialogue. But I kind of just, slowly, just every day, let my brain just run wild with its creativity. And eventually I had a whole book.
So when those ideas are coming to you in the middle of the night, are you like jumping out of bed, or are you like what, typing stuff up on your phone, or you have a notebook? How does that, or do you just have to try and hold on to it until the morning?
At first I would try to hold on to it, and then I'd wake up and realize I can't remember anything. So I would have to wake up and I would use my phone on my notes, and I would write out everything that I would need to write, so I wouldn't forget it.
Yeah, I've very, very rarely have I ever had like an idea come to me that fully formed, where you suddenly feel the need where you get up and then you're like furiously typing on your phone because like I have to remember all of this before, cause as soon as you go back to sleep, I'm not someone who usually remembers their dreams. So if it comes to me like that, I've got to get it out immediately, or it'll be gone by morning.
Yeah.
So with the other thing, you're based out of Florida, is that correct?
Yes.
So did that influence your first series? Obviously like the thing on the beach.
Yeah, kind of. I live very close. I live on the Space Coast, so I live about 10 minutes away from the beach, and I've always lived on the beach pretty much in Florida. So that kind of did, inspire me with the setting. And I've been, so in Adventures into the Abyss, it's set in California, and I've been to California. I really love the state, and so I based the setting off of California. But obviously I described the beaches how I remember most of the beaches that I've been to, which are kind of around Florida areas. So Yeah, so it did help, living on the beach and being able to describe the scene and everything.
Yeah, I think that's there's beach culture. I feel is it's kind of it's almost its own thing. If you like, there's definitely like a vibe you get with people who are there all the time versus the
Yeah.
people who just visit occasionally.
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. So like, and then like so is that so you're like someone like big into nature or that thing, or is it again this just like another idea that just kind of jumped out at you, and then you have to like again I don't know how some people like when they get these ideas they come very fully formed. Then other people like there's like you might get a sliver of something, but you like that sliver, so then you have to kind of go flesh it out or kind of add those extra pieces of clay to make that sculpture.
Mhm.
Like how much of that is like I guess what is the inspiration versus the work?
Mostly everything comes in slivers to me. So I don't usually ever have like the entire picture of the story in my head. Um, but I will have like an entire scene in my head, and I'll know exactly what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to write for that scene. But I have no idea what's going to happen 3 or 4 chapters from then until it comes to me. Um, Almost all of it is just inspiration in the moment. I don't ever really do research per se on my books unless it's something like, for this other series I'm working on, it's not ready yet, but they use tarot cards in the series, and I did do research on tarot cards for that specific scene. But like for the rest of my books, it's more of just what's my creativity can think of, and what inspires me in the moment.
Well, it does sound like you kind of have some. There's definitely like you've got a certain level of discipline. Like if you're waking up at 4 a.m. every day, and then I don't think you can finish a book without that because I think a lot of people. There's so many people out there. They be like, I'm going to write a book one day, and they go out there and they'll maybe you get that burst of inspiration, and you go and you write so much, but then it comes that part where oh no, I know I want to get to this other place, but at some point it's just like it's butt on chair, fingers on keys, and you've just got to get the thing done.
Mm-hmm.
How do you tackle that part of it?
I think if you don't have a true passion and love for it, then people are going to struggle. For me, it's like everything to me. It's what I love. It's what I think about all the time. I, will sometimes wake up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning just so I can start writing because I don't want to wait until 4 o'clock in the morning, and so I just think I have a lot of love and passion for it, which is what gives me the drive to do it every single day. Because if I didn't enjoy it, then yes, it would take me a long time to finish because it would probably feel like a chore. But to me, this is fun. I really love letting my brain just kind of dive into my stories. And
Well, that sounds like almost like a type of mental training. It's just kind of letting your, kind of like I feel like so many of us, when we're little, you're creating all the time and you're running around and playing. But I feel like as an adult, like a lot of people will start to shut that down so they can go get about the job. But it sounds like you've kind of cultivated that space where there's that time of the day where you just let your mind go, let your creativity go,
yeah,
and then just follow it where it leads.
yeah, and I am very disciplined with it. I make sure that I do it every single day. And also I read a lot. So when I'm not writing in the morning, I am reading in the evening time. And I think reading also helps my creativity and helps me with my word flow and, how I create my characters and my scenes because I can get inspired by the books that I read also. But I make sure to give myself time to have those moments where my brain can just kind of be at peace and enjoy what it's doing.
And you're having to do that while raising 3 kids, which is, makes it even more impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like, who were some of those authors when you first started out that were that got you into it, and like who's lighting your fire today?
So, I read a lot of books when I was young, and Scott Westerfield, his Uglies series was, I think, the series that like really got me into reading. And then high school happened. I kind of stopped reading. And then I picked up reading again when I was a young adult. And who got me back into reading was Cassandra Clare. She is an author, a very famous author known for her Immortal Instrument series. And that series is just absolutely like fantastic. And I fell in love with reading and with fantasy and with the magical realism through her books. And so I think she really ignited that fire back into me to want to read. And then later on, as I'm reading more books, I start discovering more indie authors. And I think it was when I discovered Leah Stone that I truly started thinking like, hey, I can probably do this too. And because I love to read, I love to write. And so I think now I look up and admire a lot of indie authors. Leah Stone is definitely probably one of my favorites because her characters are just fun and her books are fast, but like really interesting at the same time. And, she's doing so much and she's releasing so many books. So she's definitely somebody that I look up to. And I just recently discovered this other author, Liv Zander, and I really like her books as well. They're very dark and grim, kind of like mine. And so I feel like we kind of have similarities, which I enjoy. So she's also somebody that I look up to as well.
So it looks like you keep coming back to the dark stuff. Are you someone like that also like enjoys a lot of horror movies or suspense thrillers?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you one of those that like, any kind of horror movie that's on is a good one?
Yeah, I love horror movies. I love scary stuff. Thrillers. I love thrillers. Anything that's, gonna make me like excited and anxious, and I love those.
So you think it's something about like, because that is so popular, I guess I think we as a culture have a thing for the safe scare, like where you can, as a way to like approach the danger, like even just in your mind, but like you still have that kind of, there's nothing, the danger's not real, but in a way, it's a way to kind of like approach it and start thinking about it and processing it without actually having to, put yourself in actual danger.
Yeah. So, I think you're right. Definitely. It's exciting, watching a scary movie and then getting that jump scare, or reading, a thrilling, dark book and just like kind of living it through their eyes and just wondering like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So I think the fluffy, lovey-dovey stuff just kind of bores me a little bit. So, I think I'm always just kind of going to be a dark girly at heart.
Very cool. So as we're coming up on the half hour, tell everybody where they can find you online or on social, wherever you're at, if they want to kind of learn more about your books or, kind of get, at you.
Yeah. So my pen name's Kay Marrie. I'm mostly active on TikTok, somewhat active on Instagram. I have a Facebook as well. So if you search Kay Marrie, Marrie is spelled with 2 R's. So it's KayMarrie author. You should be able to find me. On my TikTok, I do post sneak peeks into my books and I do readings of my books. So I post a lot of fun content on there. So if you're one of my readers, or if you want to, get it, a look into my books before buying it, I definitely recommend following me on TikTok and Instagram.
Outstanding. Well, thanks for coming out, and we'll be on the lookout for your stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
That will be all for this episode. This podcast has been a Carcutta Media production. To learn more about this show or other podcasts, visit carcuttamedia.com/podcasts or follow us on social media at Carcutta Media. This recording or any portion thereof may not be reproduced or used in any manner whatsoever without the express written permission of the publisher, except for use of brief quotations in a review. Copyright 2025 by Carcutta Media. All rights reserved.